actually flex between jungle and support. Very rare composition, and allow maybe Jiejie or Meiko to have a better game in game 2.
2 games in a row now. I mean, the Kai'Sa is such a prominent pick and is still a 100% winner in the past 2 days.
But I will say, Sire is open this time as well, and we do have the Rakan duo if EDG want to try and strengthen this 2v2.
So typically when you see a Rel locked in, you understand the enemy team's going to have a lot of diving engaged. Zire's pretty good into that, so Light taking the Kai'Sa not going to have as much safety against whatever engaged threats EDG lock in, but they are going to have a lot of dive threat themselves. That is locked into, of course, one of Xiaohu's bigger picks.
Right one.
I'm honestly kind of surprised that Weibo Gaming, they didn't deny the Xayah wave, because that is going to be one of the best champions into a champion like the Rel, right? Because it has such agency in the early game, but Weibo Gaming probably considering something like the jungle that will match this Rel. I mean, Sejuani is still up and available that they can lock in as well, but looking at the early game, the reason why people prefer Rel over Sejuani is because she has a much faster clear time.
Ala not early locking in top lane matchup this time, of course, won't have that Jax. Wondering if there's some flavor in Ala's champion pool. He was one of the players with the largest champion pools across the entirety of LPL playoffs. I think that EDG, they know that they have a strong top laner. He didn't have a great opportunity to show anything in game 1 because the rest of the map fell so far away from them. I'm really looking for them to try and see what they can do in terms of his matchup.
Well, again, let's just quickly remind folks that things like the Renekton still available as we get in the second ban phase, because I feel like topside last time, Ala had a great matchup, but didn't do too much with it.
With EDG locking in the Jace and the Xayah, I mean, Weibo Gaming can start considering champions like the Leona and the Ornn for TheShy and Crisp, which are the remaining champions for, or at least the remaining roles that are, I guess, filled out. But still, Crisp on this Leona, a very good champion for him, where he's able to get the early tempo online alongside Weiwei and also force a lot of flashes and ultimates out of Uzi and FoFo.
So we were talking about the Renekton Sejuani in game 1, right? And how powerful a combo it is. And you see that EDG are not banning the Renekton, they're banning the K'Sante, and it wouldn't surprise me if they banned the Ornn as well, because TheShy lost both of his Renekton games in their first series, and he did have a couple of oopsie moments in those as well, despite his 1v2 outplays. It wouldn't surprise me to see if EDG ban Ornn instead of the Renekton because of the nature of TheShy and his current form.
Sante is one, as you mentioned. On the other side, Namira, if you prophesize this, it will be hilarious to try and
what I would
hold
do
into the Renekton. You're a very smart man, so I can see that. See that. EDG, let's just wait and see, because ultimately as well, if they take away the Renekton, which in the end is Rakan, now he has both options here if they want to choose top on 4.
EDG, they banned the Rakan away from the Xayah. What an interesting decision to make, but still, champions like the Ornn and the Leona most likely going to get locked in for the side of Weibo Gaming. Very big comfort champions in the hands of Chris. And TheShy, the duality of a man where he can carry and also provide such great tank engage.
I want to raise a point from your game 1, Kitty. Leona for Crisp is actually another option. His support counterpick might be locked in here.
I'm just saying it's TheShy on Renekton. It's great on paper in terms of the combo. TheShy on Renekton has had great laning phases, but not really comboed up well in mid to late game with the rest of his team.
He just wanders into the wrong swamp as this Crocodile, but still, EDG, they have to lock in the support blind for this bottom time. I mean, to be fair, the Rel can also be flexed, as the Ornn is currently getting considered, but this champion is going to allow EDG to rely on the late game team fighting that they so desperately feel comfortable on, but still, the early game is going to be key, as Meiko has to make up for that lack of agency.
Top lane meta in the regionals has been so fascinating from LPL. Ala, one of our very best carry, dominant top laners, is going towards team fight, tank, Ornn. But we saw what TheShy could do with that as well, and that's how he's found himself more stability in form. Crisp hovering the Leona now as well to be another engaged threat. He had some insane games on this versus Toppies.
And it's just funny because maybe he would have had the Alistar as an option. Leona comes through again. Kitty, you're talking about this for game number 1, but I just love that EDG this time around denied the Alistar, which is often being seen as a response into the Rel, whether people agree with it or not.
Yeah, honestly, Weibo Gaming getting this type of draft on red is a little bit illegal. They have the Kai'Sa, they have champions like the Sejuani and Renekton, great duos for a, I guess, lower priority side, but still, this Leona and Kai'Sa needs to be ahead early game, and I'm going to assume Weiwei, he's going to probably hover towards that.
The difference between something like the Renekton Sejuani composition, which Weibo have compared to EDG's in game 1, is that they have
Vincent, Weibo coming into game number 2. We've got some comfort champions again. Kitty's called it illegal, but honestly, if they've already been through court, how can you get caught? Ladies and gentlemen, as we go into game number 2 for our 4th seed qualifier for our regional finals, it's up to EDG to bring it back, otherwise Weibo move to match point here in Xi'an.
really just doesn't stop. Every time you think the Gyro's end, there's normally like the 3 apiece, they just keep going.
I will say, you know, LNG versus EDG the other day, LNG was so quiet. Everyone was here for EDG, but it's nice to see today a bit more balance in the crowd. Weibo with a growing fan base for a newer organization. I guess when you have players like this, again, you build up those fans quickly.
I mean, this was one of the most hyped matchups coming into summer where EDG versus Weibo Gaming was saved until the very last day.
Yeah.
But still, Weibo Gaming coming out with an absolute bang in that game 1. And it was through the support and jungle in the Sejuani and the Leona. But this time around, that's Weibo Gaming's home territory they play.
Might walk into Meiko here. It's going to be a bit of a hard trade. Another interesting thing that happened at that level 1 was a ward drop from FoFo towards the top Raptors. Didn't spot out Weiwei, but Weiwei spotted the ward. So it's a bit of a I know that you know scenario. Weiwei, interested to see what he does with this pathing. He's not going to be able to take Raptors unseen. He'll probably just know that anyway.
Because again, game 1, it was all about his poppy. Here on the Sejuani, we have some kind of similar value with engaged tools. And Xiaohu versus FoFo, really good for FoFo here, starting on the Jace at level 1 himself.
We have occasionally seen this from Jace. If you get in range of your hammer form Q at level 1, you can take some hard trades.
See what happens bot though. Ignite's going to come down onto Meiko. It's still only
That's
level 1. There's a flash. Shield of Duran. Meiko might just die to first blood again. The 2v2 from Weibo's huge, but this time Uzi has something to say about it. And there's no more light. The crowd loves it as Chris tries to turn it around, but Uzi will survive and rejuvenate this bottom lane of EDG.
But the first blood goes over to Light, and the wave is still in a relatively decent matter for Weibo Game to come back, but still, what a terrible start for the side of EDG. We said that the agency needed to be through the Alistar, and it was just Chris once again getting that Glacial onto Meiko, and the Ghost getting popped by Light, where Meiko wasn't able to escape.
So one of the teasers we saw, we went back to live, was talking about from the side of Weibo, they understood that EDG are very strong in lane. They have come to play though. Light and Chris, they do lose that kill. It is a trade of AD carry for AD carry. Interested to see how much of the wave Uzi will be able to pick up under tower. He's only just coming back to lane now, so sad for him. He's going to lose a few minions there.
Kitty, you made a good point though. It was first blood over to Light. Here on the Kai'Sa yet again, quite impactful as TheShy doesn't take turret aggro, so he's okay for now. But the wave pushed up. Uzi backed away. To answer your question, Nymira, I guess there was a little bit lost.
And we need to remind the audience that EDG on the blue side, they prioritize the Rel over the Kai'Sa. 2 games in a row now for Light. He got to perform on the Kai'Sa and he was the main carry, but Jiejie.
Big wave pushed up. Xiaohu wants to see it through onto FoFo. There's a flash shattering strike. He's away. FoFo flashes, but Xiaohu baits it. He baits it. In 1v2 though, EDG should have this, right?
There's a cone.
Guys, right? Blast cone over the wall. He's waiting for the shifting sands. Meanwhile, oh, the cameraman's doing us dirty. Looking towards bot because Uzi's in trouble. Flash from Weiwei yet again, but
Meiko!
Meiko comes in clutch on his Alistar, and EDG survive while Xiaohu is not bound to die yet. Shifting sands are coming through. He's taken so much time. Mid lane wave is not in a bad state, so as Xiaohu tries to get executed, Jiejie just won't let him auto attack, shattering strike, and he finally dies.
Already such a different early game in game 2 compared to game 1. Jiejie is on the board, Uzi's on the board, and manages to survive through that bot lane. So EDG, already improvements from game 1.
Weiwei's making his way back though. The 2 junglers are going to meet in the bottom lane 3v3.
Yeah, they know Jiejie's here though, so for Weibo, trying to use the value of Uzi's low health bar as this 2v2 is just so exciting for game 2.
I know that you were talking about the jungle matchup being so important in this series, Kitty, and it does feel like they have really taken it to task in game 2.
Patience is there. Zenith Blade connects. Meiko, can he get himself out of this one this time? He does under turret. Oh, Meiko, where have you been for this whole entire playoffs? Weiwei with the Arctic Soul can't get out. Meiko survives, but 4 members now down here. FoFo teleported in, and it won't be for Vayne. It'll be for Uzi's Sire for game number 2.
Meiko, the hero of the moment, just defusing a gank from the side of Weibo Gaming and then getting that kill into the pockets of EDG. Now 4-1. The crowd is going absolutely insane.
Oh, there are so few players which have such a grasp on the hearts and minds of their fans as Uzi in the Chinese audience, and him now sat at 3-0 in such a good spot. It felt like the Uzi was out of bullets in game 1. This one, it is fully loaded.
And if the Navori comes online for the side of Uzi, champions like the Renekton, the Sejuani, and the Leona is going to suffer detrimentally in these team fights. So we'll have to wait and see, because Uzi, he tends to make some mistakes, but still, Meiko was the moment of that play, and he was able to play so well, which was something we didn't see in game 1.
Top side though, there's a bit of trouble. Weiwei came into gank, but EDG have numbers advantage. FoFo moving all across the map this game. Our observer, he just loves
Meiko?
Meiko apparently, as TheShy is now cornered out. 1 versus 3, he has dominance, but EDG just picked up the kill. They took out the enemy jungler with a shock blast. Dominance is now used, but EDG gets flashed on FoFo. Might die here, in fact he does. TheShy taking a 1v3 in classic style.
Okay, so with that kill coming from TheShy, importantly in that 1v3, notices they can kill that Jiejie with that low HP bar, double empowered abilities. Is that going to mean there's going to be a wave lost in mid lane? That is an extra advantage for Weibo at that point. They're falling behind in terms of the kills, but you can see in terms of the gold at the top, they are still getting some victories elsewhere. Make no mistake, still good for EDG though.
I like how in the middle of the play, the camera just pans to Meiko, but still, it was great catch-off by the side of EDG, getting weiwei isolated as Chris wasn't able to make his way down here. But TheShy taking a 1v3 and outplaying FoFo. I feel like FoFo could have played with his range just a little bit more. You have two very tanky frontliners in Ala, but the flash to close the gap made the difference.
Rule of thumb is an empowered ability from Renekton is about double the power of a regular ability from anyone else at that point of the game. It uses 3 of them right onto FoFo and gets absolutely blasted. Now we're going back onto the map. EDG still with a firm advantage. They have gold in good places too.
I feel like it's just crazy watching the reverse matchup, and again, TheShy showing us a little bit more than what Ala did on Renekton, but more importantly as we come back, Nymeria, you're mentioning the gold being somewhat kept up by Weibo, but being realistic, we know with the eggs on the Uzi basket, this game is just a much vast improvement here for the 2v2.
We haven't seen any of the objectives really be fought over yet, the early dragon, because of the random back and forth on the bot side. Not really been able to go towards that. Herald's turning up in 40 seconds as well. Typically, Renekton, a very strong champion around that point in the game. Speaking of those dragons, going to be taken by EDG.
And the biggest difference coming into this game too is the lack of presence from Xiaohu on this Azir.
Hang on, yeah, we've got to switch over. We'll talk about it in a second as Meiko wants to zone off. Dragon is now down. Meiko with the engage onto weiwei, but then it's played onto Uzi in the backline. Light, not level 6 yet, remember, but neither is Uzi. EDG taking the brunt of the damages. That interrupt from weiwei was great, but he's taking so much. The shove away! The Emperor has returned. Xiaohu sets it up for Light to get the kill. Oh my god, Xiaohu on Azir is so broken!
And Xiaohu makes me eat my own words. He shows up in this team fight, gets a 2-man Emperor's Divide. Every single summoner burnt from the side of EDG, and they make the game even once again.
If that fight happens when Uzi is level 6, that is an utter disaster for Weibo, but they find the fight without the AD carry ultimates, and I think that's really huge. If you're able to survive on the 3 kills, Zaya, that changes the nature of this fight, but you just can't. Really well played by weiwei and Xiaohu to stop the engage coming through and finding their time to get it.
And the reason why Xiaohu is one of the best Azirs we have in the LPL is because he can find angles like this. The Shurima shuffle, hitting 2 men. This isn't the first time we see this mechanic from this guy in the mid lane.
And I have to say, supporting staff again, Chris Von Leona engaged there. He is showing us why he won Worlds once upon a time. This is the Crisp I remember from FPX.
Now suddenly, gold advantage to the side of Weibo Gaming. We have the Herald being taken by them as well. That'll be some more gold in pocket. Weibo, even just a minute ago, we were saying they were finding themselves in a bit of an awkward spot. This is now a much different story.
And an interesting thing is that Light is now 4-1, sitting on the Kraken Slayer as well. EDG know that the Rift Child's getting taken, so they want to look for something in the bottom side.
Paying respect though, Jiejie just got Hex Flash by his support. Meiko's left him. Weibo, though, don't know for now, as Meiko now shows himself, steps on up. 3 members here. Crisp is taken away, but Light is like, no, I'm not going anywhere near that. Does have killer instinct, though, but Crisp is just going to play a little bit more closer to the chest.
So it's not going to be a full-on dive. It's going to be second plate not quite taken either. So Herald on the top side secured by Weibo. Cross map from EDG not finding quite as much value.
But can I come back to what you guys were just saying? The gold is split again. Weibo now in the lead. We were talking about Uzi being 3-0. Light is now 4-1. Kraken Kitty, you just mentioned, has been picked up, which is huge.
Again?
Of the way, Xiaohu is on point this game, and weiwei beside him, permafrost, flash ball, there's the prison, and Xiaohu with another kill. Here's Azir online.
This guy finds engages from nowhere. This one's a bit more simple. That fight on the bot side river setting him up for success, and now he gets another one. A Herald into the Azir as well. This Azir is going to have huge late game scaling too. In another game with the Alistair, Rel, and Ornn, you'd be able to survive the front line. Xiaohu with this much gold though, it's going to be a huge problem for EDG as the game goes on.
Like you said, 3 plates into the pockets of Xiaohu now working towards potentially the Liandry's as that first item, but still, having an Fed Azir on the enemy team makes Jiejie, Meiko, and Ala's life so much harder in these team fights. As we get a replay, that was just beautifully played by TheShy. Oh, Xiaohu!
Yes, yeah, I can see the inner Weibo fans giggling with glee at that one, but I mean, TheShy just has a soldier on the way. FoFo disrespects it. E into Q, very easy combo, gets onto him, gets him down.
such a good early game from FoFo. You know, shame to see this turnabout play, but I guess again shows Weibo they're their own early game power as well. When they'll talk about EDG's aggression, it is being matched once again as that gold lead is now 2,500 out of nowhere as EDG are trying to force back in this bottom side jungle.
That heralds the cause of that big gold. EDG, they'd love to find themselves another fight right now, particularly with Alistair ultimate available, very strong at this point in the game.
Meiko gets the 2-man, but it's not on TheShy. He glides back. Jiejie with the Magnustorm is great, but there's a teleport channeling in. Weibo have brought Xiaohu in again.
Oh, Chris!
Almost up and available. Chris helps get the first as Meiko is going to be flushed on, and so Chris does the FoFo. Weibo are winning every single fight they take, and EDG, they're drawing their last breaths.
It is clean, it is crisp, it is another pinpoint engage from the Leona of Weibo.
EDG, with the start they had 3-0 on Uzi. This is an ongoing trend for this roster. They are given early game leads, but weiwei.
And look, Uzi about to get his another death. Let's find out. Good ulti timing here as Light doesn't get that Void Seeker. Instead, Uzi just kites it back to the turret. Weibo, again, trying to make more plays.
Feels like the last few minutes have really been just determined by, the players which we've really highlighted from Weibo across the entirety of regionals, the jungle and support being quicker to the play. Yes, Xiaohu has had his big engages too, but it feels like Weibo, on the whole, are much quicker to read the map and much quicker to arrive to the play.
In that previous team fight as well, I don't know if anyone was looking at Chris, this Leona won't leave you alone. I mean, just everyone eyes onto this Leona. He will not leave you alone in this choke, but Jiejie going in, not too much follow-up as you are playing alongside TheShy, so she naturally plays better when the champions are engaging onto you. Xiaohu and Chris working together and closing the gap, and this flash over the wall to seal the deal onto FoFo as he chain dies a second time.
The thing about Leona is that the more Zenith blades you hit, the more mobility you have as well. Just getting in the middle of the enemy team to get those stuns later, so huge. And once again, Weibo jungle spot on the road.
Yeah, they're saying Bay because right now it's all love coming through from that gold lead, 4K. Weiwei forcing the ult coming through, and once more we have to say, you were mentioning before, this jungle is so busy from WBG.
And because Weibo Gaming was able to pick up that first Rift Child, they now have items online to contest for the second.
Yep.
So EDG, they can't even rely on the dragon stacking for the time being.
Well, taking it down one apiece, as you said. Herald now the next look at least in 2 minutes time as it comes up. We'll see how it's approached, but importantly enough, there's CS leads through mid, through top, for good reason. Is Chris going to get engaged on? EDG trying to find a flip back into this game, but it is a Leona. Tanky enough as called. Forge got layers down, but Chris still not dead. Soulflare won't connect, but there's the Magnustorm, and Xiaohu again dissipates the fight. However, Chris dies, so Weibo aren't in control of this fight. Finally, EDG are getting a bit more resources back into this game.
Ala finally gets to join one of these fights. Call of the Forge God, huge value in the mid lane. It is at the cost of top lane. You can see the gold starting to really fall in Weibo's favor, but you can see the value that Ornn will have when EDG can fight around it.
The value of Ornn for the trade of, 12 tower plates going to the hands of WBG. Uzi is going to pick up that second towards the bottom side, but a great group up from Ala, because when you look at EDG's composition, they don't really have follow-up when Jiejie or Meiko goes in, but still, Chris not having that flash, checking the bush blind was a little bit disrespectful.
Still, a little bit worrying here for EDG, the amount of time it takes to kill that Leona. This Chris does not have himself a flash, doesn't have himself that many ways out of it, and it takes, 2-3 ultimates to go slammed on top of him, and even then it's a fairly close run thing to get one kill out of that, and at least EDG gets something on the board, but again, a little bit worrying with how long it takes to kill them.
I think if Xiaohu held onto his Emperor's Divide just 2 seconds longer, it would have stopped FoFo from going onto the Azir's face as well, and potentially could have saved weiwei. But now, Duskblade in the hands of FoFo, this Jace is going to start hurting for the next upcoming Rift Trial, but still, the flashes are going to be key, especially for Jiejie on EDG.
But still, after that fight, make no mistake, Weibo still have the gold lead. It is still 3 members on the top of your screen that are holding a strong advantage. Even over Uzi, 800 gold here for Light is still worth mentioning for the 6-1 Kaiser.
Really important phase of the game happening right now. We're changing our lane assignments. TheShy might find himself on weak side. You can see that Azir pushing in top side. Weibo, they found some great advantages with this style of play before, but TheShy has died on weak side a lot.
Classic indeed. Dominance is available, but guess what? Christmas here. They're going to die this. Turret does eventually go down, but TPs with the Magnustorm to layer the down. They don't have enough damage yet. EDG do not have enough damage. TheShy with Flash gets the Cold Meek and pick up his second kill as tagged out. Light has an ulti in onto FoFo, forces his flash as Meiko now absorbing the damage with the unbreakable will, but it will eventually break apart.
Weibo just play the map better. EDG once again blindsided by macro.
And now, Weiwei being on the other side of the map, he's also going to collect himself that second Rift Herald into the hands of WBG. But you see, WBG's entire composition, they're so slippery. And TheShy getting dove in a 3-man situation. EDG didn't have the damage to commit to this.
The big thing here is in previous games, you've seen TheShy in 1v2, 1v3s, but not necessarily with the support at that point. Chris is here in time. I don't know what's happened to Chris. He's a world champion in the past. We know exactly how good he can be. But in this series, he feels like he's channeling some of his real peak performance. There at the right time, saves the play.
Yeah, and also Light coming towards the bottom side with that ultimate as well, closing the distance and forcing the flash out of FoFo for this Jace.
Light has been super clutch in regional so far. I feel like I'm saying that about a lot of people throughout this series, throughout yesterday and the day before too, but Light's positioning alongside these fights has been so good to watch. And I think ultimately, again, we are seeing Weibo step up. We are complimenting this team, but Naimira, I want to ask you about what EDG do to come back into this game, because it was such a good start for Uzi. FoFo still has a lot of gold belly. They still have an Ornn. So walk me through how they should be playing this mid-game and trying to quell the beast that is WBG.
Well, to be blunt, it's quite difficult, right? Because they tried to play around a broken map where they could try and kill TheShy on weak side. That's typically worked around Weibo, but they don't have enough deep vision. They haven't secured themselves their own kind of vision clearing to stop Weibo seeing where they're moving on the map to make the macro work. This was one of the worries we've had about EDG. They haven't always played side lanes that well, but they need to make sure that Weibo don't run away with this game.
And something that's really fun for the side of Weibo Gaming is that Light has decided to go the AD Kai'Sa build with the lethal tempo and also the Kraken Slate getting picked up. So the front line of EDG, the consistent DPS, especially when that Lord Doms comes online, a la Jiejie and Meiko, they are going to be shredded. So EDG, they have to play with the range provided by FoFo.
Also going to benefit from the Black Cleaver, which is built up by TheShy, shredding some more of that armor, allowing Light to do more damage. He is on weak side again, though, but I think he's too tanky now. I think he's at 2 items. TheShy with ult. You can't really dive him for free. They're moving up Uzi, they're moving up Jiejie as well, but Crisp is once again here.
Meiko's only level 7, by the way, so this cow is not going to be that tanky just from levels alone. EDG with the objective bounty are looking for their second turret of the game as Meiko starts this dive off. 4 members are there. Jiejie takes a turret shot. They're engaging on Crisp, but ladies and gentlemen, they haven't found anything yet. EDG are getting desperate here. Uzi gets stunned up. He tanks turret, he ulti, but 2 versus 4. TheShy will drop down, but Light has found his death note. In comes Yagami, but isn't it int? Under turret, Meiko's taking up, but again, he has no levels. He's so low, but survives. It's messy, but you're losing half the map because of it.
It's a bit of an over-engage from Light, which does mean that he goes down. He flashes in to get within ult range. It's stylish, points for Flair, but no points for him in terms of the execution. Sadly, after that point, is gold over. Luckily, Weibo still cross-mapping, and with the Herald down on bot side, they're going to get themselves the majority of that inhibitor. I don't think it falls.
I cannot believe how much time TheShy and Chris was able to buy 2v4 towards that top side. If Light didn't go in for that gritty flash over the wall and potentially go for an overplay, I mean, they could have just secured the bottom lane inhibitor potentially and then set up for vision towards this top side.
Really want you to pay attention to what Crisp does again. You can see the EG angling for the engage. Solar Flare stops the follow-up. There is no damage, and that means that Weibo say, okay, maybe we can play this again. The cooldowns are down. Crisp continues to keep playing this through, but this is where the overplay comes through. Uzi manages to get enough damage for the first round. Remember, Uzi has still got a lot of damage here, and that means that it's not a free play.
And because Weiwei was hovering towards Xiaohu's side of the bottom side, it was just potential play of just give over the tier 1 tower. It's just a tier 1 tower while Xiaohu is getting every single thing in towards the bottom side.
Still a 4K gold lead. Again, EDG were able to get some gold back into their pocket, thankfully, but still in this mid-game, Weibo hold the reins. As Xiaohu, Kitty, as you were saying, that gold leads into a strong 2 items. We're now developing towards the third, while FoFo still struggling to get to the second item himself.
Okay, so next act of the game is going to start very shortly, so the intermezzo will be right now. Get yourself your snacks from the foyer and come back for the Baron spawning in 30 seconds. You have an Azir, you got a Kai'Sa, that will be absolutely shredded. EDG will no longer be given any leniency if they give vision control over on the top side of the map.
Something to keep in mind though is the stopwatch did get picked up by TheShy, and he also has that TP available, so he potentially can look for a flank towards the carries of EDG, but still, that entire fight made FoFo come back into the game. Before that was a 50 CS deficit, it was 2 levels down for the Jace, but now he's relatively even. Still, you need to consider the fact WBG, they have fast Baron shred.
They do indeed. I mean, look, Kitty showing on our screen at 20 minutes on the dot. Teleport's now burned. TheShy has his own, but he's on a ward bot side, so Weibo, as they commit that teleport to try and do a fast Baron, they're just going to pull off for the time being, I guess.
So LPL teams are no stranger to this. Even our bottom table teams know that once the 20-minute mark hits, if you are behind in a game, you can win through Baron rushes. Weibo, they're ahead in this game. They have a huge amount of damage, so EDG They're not going to have any room for error around that point. They're also losing on the bot side of the map. TheShy is going to still be pushing in Ala and stopping him being able to teleport for free to the top side.
The scary thing is they had no vision on this Baron. EDG, they have to face check this.
I mean, so much damage, as you were saying. Light's not there yet. He's actually angling instead. Engage comes through from Christmas. Then play Xiaohu gets chunked on the back end. It's a good Magnus Storm. EDG might have a chance. They're bursting him out. And look, Uzi in the backline's huge, but Light now rolling in on top of Uzi. He's left unchecked, but Light gets turned on. Weibo Gaming in front of the Baron. They're losing it all.
TheShy in the base is trying to get something back, but the play has been lost. Weibo had a slam dunk across the map set up, but once again, they've thrown around the Baron.
Weibo Gaming fumbled it not again around the Baron as well. They were looking for the turn, but the carries were way too split. Where Xiaohu and Light, they were so disconnected.
Need we remind you of what happened yesterday on that stage? Weibo, incredible gold advantage against top esports in game 3, and then they threw it at the Baron. Weibo, it's an awkward moment for them. They got themselves a vision control, they got themselves the positioning on it, but they allow EDG to fight behind their tanks.
Yeah, and this entire fight started with Jiejie having a really nice ultimate and then just playing front to back. Look at Uzi sidestepping the Solar Flare as well and focusing down Light instantly, having the Feather Storm and just rooting him through that slick mechanic.
The damage at the start of the fight isn't in the right place, and then Xiaohu, he
with the flash as well, man.
800 gold shut down over to the Jays. EDG with a breath of life in this game. They get themselves a Baron power play. They got even in gold. They are back in this.
Well, when I asked you about 5 minutes ago, how did EDG find their way into this game, I never knew the answer was wait for Weibo to start Baron. Game
Should
number
have guessed,
2.
really.
Shouldn't we all? Honestly, again, consistently inconsistent. This is the problem, and for Weibo, gold is now even. Remember, they were 4,000 or 5,000 gold ahead only 5 minutes ago. Now EDG with Baron actually have some priority in this map.
We're back to the E RAM, the EDG A RAM. They have themselves stats this time, though. They're not doing it from behind in the game. They got it with a Baron buff. They'll take down the mid lane out of turret, which will set them up nicely for the Dragon in a minute.
With an engage, he's called the forward. Got Jiejie layers on top. It's beautiful from EDG. Weiwei comes in late. As Light might be free firing, but he's not doing enough damage yet. EDG nice and healthy, but Light gets engaged on by Meiko. Welcome back, you holy cow. Is EDG fighting at a turret? Just don't care. Uzi uses that earlier gold lead and ignites the crowd.
Uzi's fully loaded, triple kill for the king of AD carry in the LPL.
What a swing in the game. Uzi comes online and with a huge ace, they're going to even out the scoreline to 1-1.
It wouldn't be a Weibo Gaming series without seeing a couple of ins here and there, but EDG deserve it. They held on to their nerve, and when World is on the line, EDG will keep their name in mind.
Feels like once again Weibo had a game in hand and fumble it around the Baron. For a team where we've seen some periods of great macro across the map, great side laning and great ability to skirmish, this has been a thorn in their side.
And they had no right in starting that Baron.